Today, I've invited the author of The Great Eight Pillars of ROI-Driven Marketing. Together, we'll walk through each pillar and talk about how important they are, particularly if you're an industrial marketer. We'll talk about how to get in front of leadership with the right data that is meaningful and to grow your influence within the organization and demonstrate the impact that marketing can have. We also talk about the need for frameworks and processes so that you can have a repeatable model when you launch campaigns. We talk about value proposition and, of course, your MarTech stack and AI that factors into this conversation as well. We cover a lot of ground. Now, before we get started, I also wanted to let you know that the Industrial Marketing Summit recently announced all of our speakers, sponsors, and a very exciting keynote speaker. And you can find all of that at industrialmarketingsummit.com. Early bird registration lasts now through early November. So get on that website and grab your seat. And with that, let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Chris Peer. He is the author of The Great Eight Pillars of ROI-Driven Marketing. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know that you have a background in working with manufacturing companies. So when I saw your book and your background, I was excited to have you on because you get the struggle. You get this industry. It's unique. You know, the normal B2B principles don't necessarily apply, or they need to be amended at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, when did the book come out and why did you write a book to begin with? What was the inspiration?
Oh, the inspiration. So I guess it's a quick story. So a gentleman named John Daters, we hired him. He came in as our vice president of client services. And when he was getting acclimated with SyncShow, he came in my office one day and he said, Chris, are our case studies real? He's like, I've worked at other agencies and the results we're getting are better than I've ever seen. Are they real? And I said, well, yeah, they're real. We're not lying in our marketing. But I said, John, I need you to believe it. So I said, why don't you go out and look at all of our client data and come back and tell me what you find? And he came back a couple months later and he said, our average client data is better than several of our case studies. Like, what are we doing? And I couldn't answer him. I didn't know. I didn't have a good answer for him, and I was a little embarrassed. And so he's like, we got to figure this out. And I knew we had some processes and some ways of doing business.
Yeah. Standard operating procedures, things you always, repeatable processes, right?
But we didn't have a good answer. And so, and ROI has always been very core to our ethos. We didn't want to do marketing just for marketing's sake. We really wanted to be a partner for our companies for the long term, not just, 18 months, I think is the average agency retention.
Is it
for a
really?
client.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So we wanted to matter, and I think it just was important to us. So we set out on this journey to identify exactly what it was. And a couple of years later, we came up with the Great Eight.
I love that you have a catchy name for your methodology. I think that's very smart. That's a great marketing move. Right, go figure. You've already proven yourself there.
Yeah.
Who did you write the book for?
Oh, so the book is written for really marketing, sales, and the executive suite. So that's one thing I tell, like when I'm handing the book out to CEOs or the C-suite, this isn't a marketing tactics book. It's not how to do marketing. It's how to attain an ROI from your marketing operations. So we don't talk about how to do SEO or how to do any other marketing tactic. It's more about how to structure your marketing operational organization so that you have a stronger chance of getting a return on that investment and making it a profit center versus an expense on the books.
Okay, so that's why and my very next question was why emphasize ROI so heavily? So it's this mindset that marketing can be a revenue generator, not an expense on the books. Okay.
Absolutely. And I think it really stemmed from every prospect we talked to. When they'd call us, they'd say, hey, usually the conversation would be like, hey, Chris, I'm working with another agency, or we hired an internal marketing person and I'm not seeing the results. And some of our clients are small companies that are privately held, family owned businesses. And
Mhm.
you can see the pain in their eyes. Like they've spent money and it hurt.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So I use the phrase over and over again in the book. It's, are you sick and tired of wasting time and money on marketing that doesn't work? And it might not be the tactical implementation plan. It's everything else that needs to support it.
Yeah, foundation. And okay.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we'll have, say, a manufacturing executive that's a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to marketing, which is really a lot of them, these small
Most,
businesses.
especially in manufacturing. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this expectation that there's a formula, Chris. Like you put, dollars in and X number of revenue shoots out the other side. It's formulaic. What would you say in response to that?
I think when you invest in anything, I always say that there is no such thing as an expense on the business books. Everything you do in business is an investment. You can write it off as an expense, but it's intended to be an investment. It's intended to be a return on investment. So when I think about marketing, and I just actually wrote a blog article on the question I get most frequently asked is, does marketing really work for B2B industrial companies? And absolutely, it has to work. It does work. And you should be doing it. But I tell everybody, like, because they ask, can I really get a 10x return on marketing investment? I'm like, well, you can, but don't expect a 10x. You should expect a return on investment. But like, if I could invest, $1,000 and get a 10x return, in anything other than the lottery, I would do it all the time. Now you can get that 10x return, but you should expect like a 2x, a 3x, a 5x. And then one of our clients got a 27x return once on the first year. So it is doable. The goal is to just see improvement and see that it's not an overall expense on your books.
Yeah, and build upon that improvement over time. I think that's another fallacy that that year one will be the most impactful in terms of ROI, where in reality, many companies don't have that foundation and they're so behind. It takes till year two really to see that big payout. Have you found that to be the case as well?
I think you're spot on there. We categorize our clients right when we first started working with them as marketing immature, marketing foundational, or marketing mature. And so depending on, and we have with the grade 8 pillars, we have an assessment which has over 100 gold standards that we've defined across the 8 pillars. And so we do that assessment up front to help us identify your level of marketing maturity. And if you don't have the foundational elements in place, it's going to take longer to get the ROI because, a lot of people say, well, when can I expect results? I'm like, well, it depends on, one, how aggressive your marketing budget is and how long it takes to get these things in place. And then 3 is we need to become part of your RevOps team. And if you think of us as a vendor that's just going to do this on the side, then let's not work together because it's not going to work. You will waste time and money on marketing.
Exactly.
We
Chris, I
need to
just need to
be.
bring you with me every time I have a sales meeting. Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, people may read one of your case studies and think, oh, all right, he just guaranteed me, 10X. And no, wait a minute.
No,
Your
it's a team.
website was designed 10 years ago. Like, let's start there. You don't have CRM in place. Yeah. People are
Yeah, I think a
starting
lot of,
businesses.
especially in the industrial B2B side, and it's one of the reasons I wrote the book is a lot of leadership doesn't really understand how scientific marketing has become. And because of that, they think marketing is smoke and mirrors because they've traditionally done business on a handshake and through network and relationships. So I always use the term of don't think of it as marketing, think of it as communications. And better communications solves almost all problems. So don't think of it as marketing and smoke and mirrors, but there is a science to it that's pretty complex these days.
Oh, absolutely. And then I'm fascinated by the debate between the things that we can easily measure, like digital tactics or whatever, and then the squishy things, I'll call it, like brand, which is harder to put a direct measurement to, but certainly has a massive impact on ROI.
Yeah. So it seems like you're reading my mind. So the Great Eight Pillars book that's behind me on the shelf that you've seen, that was written specifically for manufacturing companies. I'm launching a new book this fall, which is for all B2B companies. And in the preface of that book, I start out by saying, don't think of marketing. Marketing's only value is lead generation.
Right.
It's a big mistake because a lot of people are going that way these days.
Yeah.
The value of a strong brand, the value of your storytelling ability and the communications can greatly enhance the revenue and the growth of your organization, but it might not all be measurable. And so in the analytics and reporting chapter of the book, we talk about vanity metrics versus key performance indicators.
Yeah.
And while both are important, you still need to understand and recognize what the differences are.
Absolutely. Well, back to Bill. I can't wait for that book. So when is it? This fall, you said, or next?
This fall, yeah.
This fall. Okay, I may have to have you back on, Chris. Well. In the meantime, I really want to get back to the 8 pillars, and I don't think we should. We need to maybe not walk through all 8 because people need to get the book for that. But I do want to know which of the 8 pillars is most crucial for manufacturing and industrial companies.
So all 8 are critical. When we started writing the book and when we started mapping this out, we started with over 100, and I think it was 123 categories, which we had on our whiteboard all mapped out. And we kept dwindling it down and kind of narrowing it down. And real quick too, Wendy, I think it was interesting when we started writing the book and building out the methodology, we thought it was going to be about which marketing tactics were the best.
Oh,
and
how
which ones
interesting.
to do and when.
Uh-huh.
And to our surprise, it really boiled down to marketing operational infrastructure.
Mm.
So all 8 of these are about operational infrastructure. And I'll just mention them real quick so people
Okay.
understand what the heck we're talking about.
Great.
And then I'll give you my personal preferences on which ones I think are most important, but they all have to do with timing too. So pillar number 1 is goals, KPIs, and industry benchmarks. This is, if you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going, and you need to have a goal. And it's not just any goal, it's an ROI-driven goal. So in the book, we talk about how to actually calculate that goal. It's got to be tied to money and to revenues, and then which key performance indicators to track. Pillar number 2 is a value proposition, messaging, and branding. So how do you tell your story? I'll come back to that in a couple of minutes. Pillar number 3 is your marketing strategy. If you do not have a strategy aligned to your goal that can help you to tell your story or your value proposition, then you're doing whack-a-mole style marketing. And in the book, we have links to download free marketing strategy templates and things for folks as well.
Nice.
Number 4 is your marketing team structure. If you do not have the team, whether it's in-house or outsourced, to pull off your marketing strategy, it's not going to work. Pillar number 5 is the almighty website. So this website's got to be a lead machine. It's got to help you get found and not only attract, but convert prospects into leads. Pillar number 6 is analytics and reporting. So are you reporting on the right things? Are these reports that are shared across the entire RevOps team of sales and marketing? And do your reports have information that your executives love and care about?
No, that's a big one.
If not, and if you're just using these reports internally, you're not going to get the greatest ROI.
Yeah.
Pillar number 7, I think we were on 6. Pillar number 7 is your technology stack. So do you have the power tools to do the job? So here we're talking about marketing automation like HubSpot or your CRM. which could also be HubSpot or a Salesforce, or you need to tie those together. And then pillar number 8, the last but not least, are what we call templates and guides. So this is pretty basic, but are you reinventing the wheel every time and wasting time and money on reinventing the wheel? Or do you have standardized SOPs or templates and guides that you leverage over and over again for efficiency and productivity?
All right. Good one. Oh, those are all excellent. Okay. How do you
But
pick? How do
you
you
asked which
pick?
one's the most important.
Uh-huh.
I think they're all very important, but my heart is with value proposition, messaging, and branding. And I say that because we've seen it time and time again where you could have a really strong sales team and you could have a really strong marketing department doing a great job working together. Everything's syncing, but your close rate on business opportunities sucks. And if that's the case, it could very well be because your buyers can't differentiate you from the competition and you're not communicating why they should choose you. So it's the one pillar that if you're doing everything right, but that pillar wrong, you will not get the ROI that you want.
Absolutely agree.
So you
Absolutely agree.
got to tell
Yeah.
your story and it's got to be better than your competition.
Yeah. Do you find that out of all the pillars, which one is the most overlooked?
That's
Do you think
the
that is
value
the one?
proposition.
Okay. People jump straight to tactics. They get in their, Excel spreadsheet or their project planning software and just go straight to what should we do with social media or what should we do with trade shows? And they're not focused on their message.
Yeah, and I'd say really it's probably a dead even tie for the first 3. So in 20 years of doing business, we've been in business for 22 years. Not a single customer or prospect has handed us a written marketing strategy, an existing written marketing strategy, or a value proposition defined statement, or an ROI-driven marketing goal and said, can you help us implement this plan?
Never.
Never.
Wow. We've certainly been handed some that we felt, had some good with it, but definitely had some gaps. Wow.
We've seen overarching components of those
Sure.
things.
Okay.
Like
Same.
here's
Yeah.
our ideal customer profile, here are our buyer personas, here's our social strategy.
Yeah.
But never tying it all together, no.
Got you. Okay. What other obstacles do you see marketers face in our industry?
Obstacles. Content is always a huge obstacle, especially in the B2B industrial sector, because let's go back to manufacturing. Oftentimes to provide thought leadership content and to really position a manufacturing company as a thought leader, you have to get into some technical capabilities. And usually it's around engineering and the manufacturing process. And I always tell our clients, we're experts in marketing, but you're experts in how you do your business. So don't expect us to know how to write engineering-based content. We can interview your engineers and we can get that content created, but you're still going to need to review it and make sure it's technically accurate. So I think that's always a hurdle is the content piece. I think AI, I know you have another podcast out there on the Macon conference in Cleveland, which is where I live, in September. AI is definitely going to revolutionize everything we're doing. And I think it's a great tool for us now, but how it changes our world in the next 3 to 5 years is going to be pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I was just listening. I was thinking in my head about something you said about the pillar of repeatable processes. And Paul Reitzer over at the Marketing AI Institute, they just created a GPT for campaigns. And they broke down all the different tasks you have associated with a campaign and made this GPT that then you could use and train on your own operations. And I just had to sit down for a minute and go, yes. I mean, I'm thinking about how we have our standard operating procedures in Excel and PowerPoint and things we've come up with and the way we do business. But then to have it be more dynamic like this, that sounds like an exciting time saver. So I think once again, it's an example of right now, people may be a little bit too fixated on the generative, the writing part, when it's all this other stuff that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a wild ride. And I
Yeah,
think, you know, of all the industries, everything's changed a lot over the last 20 years, but marketing is rapidly changing. I mean, like I look at some of our clients, you know, and they have pretty consistent systems, you know, for the last 15 to 20 years. They manufacture things a certain way with the same equipment. Maybe they're leveraging new technologies in that, but marketing's really turned upside down in the last 10 to 15 years. And I think it's going to keep going that way with AI in a way that's going to even be more impactful and more disruptive and more valuable. It's exciting.
it is. And imagine if somebody listening is with a smaller company that has to position against these big brands. This is a huge, or maybe you're behind the competition for whatever reason. This is a time where you can leapfrog because of all this disruption and change. So it's, yeah, it's pretty cool. The other thing that came up recently this week actually was in the realm of recruiting and just how to not adopt these new technologies and to do modern marketing in the right way, you're going to lose talent. You're not going to be able to recruit the right people into your company because Gen Z and those even younger, when they're coming in, they're going to be expecting those technologies to be used within your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they want to learn them. They're hungry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so how do you keep up with all of this rapid change? What are your is it podcasts? Is it books? Is it go to conferences? What do you use?
Personally, I'm a voracious reader and listen to audiobooks and printed books. So, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. So that's how I get most of my information. At my company, Sync Show, we have 20 plus employees. So, like on the AI topic, as an example, we have an AI task force. So I think we have 5 people on that task force that their whole mission is to continually learn about AI and how to leverage it for our clients and improve the value we're offering to our clients and the ROI. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. Yeah, absolutely. And I like that we do something similar where we have, okay, this person is the expert at, HubSpot and all things CRM, Pardot. So we're going to make sure they are staying up on that. And then we have our AI team and our brand team. And so we similarly try to a bit divide and conquer.
yeah,
And this fall, you'll hear us put out podcasts that'll be, okay, Maycon recap, content marketing world recap, and make sure that that then gets translated back to not only our own team but inside the podcast. So
yeah.
yeah, it's big. I was just seeing a demo of not a demo, but we were playing with SEM Rush yesterday, and how you can map your website performance against all the Google algorithm changes. And it's just one more example of this rapid change. And if you weren't aware of that as a marketer and you're watching your traffic do just crazy things without that technology behind you, that explanation, what do you say to management? How do
Yeah.
you go back and talk to your executives about that?
No, I think I have a chapter in the book on it. Reports that executives love, and we actually have. So in throughout the book, I have at the end of every chapter, I have a lessons learned, and the lessons learned is basically a big mistake we made over the years, and how we learned from it and what we did different. And one of them was relating to this exact topic with analytics that were just on a roller coaster, and it's like, well, what the heck is going on here? And and that goes back to your vanity metrics and your KPIs and your ROI driven goals. If you don't know what's really important, you could be grossly misunderstanding and misrepresenting the effectiveness of marketing, either positively or negatively. And in the one lessons learned, we were working with a software company. This was before we focused on, this is like 15 years ago. We don't really work with software companies anymore. We just work with the industrial companies. But at this particular case, they were reporting that their website traffic had been doubling year over year for years. And the analytics was all wrong.
No.
And when we actually found out what was happening is as they were growing, their users had to log into their software via the website.
Oh, come on.
And so when we actually were able to filter out users of the software, their marketing traffic was actually declining year over year.
Wow.
And
What a
so
miss.
we found that out within like the first month and a half of working with them, and it was like a blow to the VP of marketing. And I don't think she ever changed it on the executive reports, but we got
Yikes.
it all corrected and got it growing again.
Good. You know what I thought you were going to say there, which I could also see the case is your company name is similar to another company or product that takes off and you're getting all that traffic that then bounces right away. So equally bad,
Yeah.
equally not representative of actual qualified visitors, right?
Yeah. I mean, you just never know, yeah, we see all kinds of fun little tidbits like that.
Yeah. So, to wrap things up, I would love your thoughts on this. It's often in industrial companies that you have a department of one or few, and they really struggle to get executive buy in for budget growth, for headcount growth, for bringing in agencies, whatever it is. So, what advice do you have to them of ways to get those executives excited and behind marketing?
In the book, we actually have a whole chapter on this. It's called Executive Perspectives.
Nice.
And it's right up at the beginning before we get into the pillars. And the reason I wrote it was because, yeah, as marketers, as a marketer myself, we all want to add value.
Yeah.
And we all want to be seen as the person or department that is helping the company grow. Because I think marketers in general are all really passionate about what we do and we want people to care about it. Oftentimes, though, marketing is a subsidiary of sales, so to speak, and
Hmm.
sales gets all the credit, which is fine. But I think today marketing is so sophisticated. If you can set up the right reporting and have the right conversations and talk about, and a lot of it's education to the leadership or executive team as to how marketing can contribute to revenue operations and how it is one team. And then in certain organizations, marketing is seen as the department that gets salespeople their sell sheets when they run out of them,
Right.
or reprinting more business cards. We have to transcend that and really start to work with the sales team as to how to make them more effective and efficient in their day to day and give them these tools, and like through sales enablement and marketing automations and lead nurturing. And then when you start handing them warm leads, truly understanding if those leads are good leads or not, then all of a sudden you start to become impactful and valuable. And then you can get that seat at the executive table to say, hey, this is how we've made an impact. Here are all the analytics and reports. Here's the marketing strategy. And this is why it is so valuable for us to all have buy-in on this. And then it'll be able to illustrate how you're going to change and morph around the company's organizational goals, as times change, and show that, you've got a plan. And I think that's the big thing. We talked about it earlier, Wendy, is of all those companies I've ever worked with, nobody's ever had a marketing strategy. You can build that strategy and then communicate it to the leadership team, communicate how it impacts the bottom line, because that's all they care about.
Yeah, it goes right back to like measure the things that they care about, report on the things they care about, right? You can measure
They
all
don't,
sorts of things, but yeah.
and I put this in the book, executives do not care about website traffic or your conversion rates or social media followers.
Email opens. Yeah.
They don't care. Those are things marketers care about.
Yeah.
And we should.
Yeah. I like how you answer that too. In it might be that it's phases. It might be first, it's making sure you have an impact on sales, and then it's getting the right reports in place, and then it's and then of course value prop within there too. So, might it be that this is an overnight thing that you have that seat at that executive table or seen a different way, but there's this path, in this playbook, if you will, this way forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the book too, if anybody's listening and they've got this issue, we talk about when executives become mired in marketing. Like
Oh, right. There's
if
that persona as well.
if all of a sudden like somebody on the executive team is involved in marketing and they weren't before, it's probably not a good thing. It could be good, but
Yeah.
so I outline like 3 or 4 different areas or reasons why, and then what to do about it. Because usually when an executive that's not normally involved in marketing is getting involved in marketing, it's because they've lost trust. or they just really love marketing and they want to learn more. So in either situation, building that rapport with that executive is key.
Yeah. And not distracting them with really tactical measurements that, helping educate them that, no, we don't need to tell you about X keywords performance. We've had that, like, no, let's change the conversation.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Oh, very good. So once again, the name of the book is The Great 8 Pillars of ROI-Driven Marketing, and your agency is Sync Show, and that's all one word, right?
Yep.
SYNC Show.
Yep.
And Chris, where's the best place for people to find the book, find your agency, and connect with you?
So you can find the book on Amazon. So just type in The Great 8 Pillars on Amazon. You can also find me at syncshow.com. I also have chrispeer.com if you want to learn more about me or hire me for consulting or speaking. There's also links to the book on both, so you can find it there. But I'm always happy to answer questions. And, if anybody is like really challenged and just wants to reach out, I'm pretty accessible. So.
All right. And we'll make sure the book is in the show notes as well. Well, Chris, thank you. I enjoyed meeting you today, and I appreciate you stopping by and sharing your wisdom.
Thanks, Wendy. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.